The ruins of Medusa's palace. Broken pillars and stone statues of humans lay everywhere. Medusa was pacing alone in her stone garden when suddenly a rustling sound reached her ears. The snakes on her head became alert like predatory cats. Someone had entered the forbidden boundaries of the palace. Medusa roared, "Who are you? Does that draw you so much that you have set foot in this cursed fortress?" A small boy emerged through the mist. In his hand was a worn-out stick. He didn't shrink back in fear. Instead, he turned his face toward the sound, tapping the stone floor with his stick. His eyes were fixed, but there was no terror in them. Boy in a timid but curious voice said, "Forgive me. I am new to this path. Am I standing before the gardener or a kind queen? I came here after hearing the fairy tales of this palace." Medusa froze. She came and stood very close to the boy. Her snakes hissed, bearing venomous fangs just inches from the boy's face. Medusa fixed her cursed bluish gaze directly onto the boy's eyes to turn him into the stone in an instant. But nothing happened. The boy didn't even blink. Medusa, in a surprising voice, said, You can't see me? Look at me. Look into my eyes." The boy, smiling gently, said, "Queen, I have been blind since birth. To me, there is no difference between light and darkness. So I do not know who you are or what you look like. But in your voice, I can hear the roar of a vast ocean. Are you very lonely?" Medusa was stunned. Before those eyes, which the world's greatest warriors feared to look into, was an innocent darkness. For the first time, she found someone upon whom her curse didn't work. You do not know who you are talking to. Whatever enters this palace never returns. Here there is only stone and death. The boy said, "Mother says, when people are in great pain, they become hard like stone. Are you also in great pain? The sound of the snakes around you, do they guard you? Or do they also want to sing like you but can't?" The boy reached out his hand, trying to find something in the void. Medusa initially wanted to pull away, but by some unknown pull, she stood still. The boy's small hand fell gently upon Medusa's cold, ivy-like cheek. In an instant, the air in the entire garden stood still. Medusa's snakes, which were ready to bite, miraculously clamped down and coiled up at the touch of the boy's hand. Medusa, in a choked voice, said, "Why are you not afraid of me? I am a monster. At my touch, grass burns to ashes." The boy said, "I don't see a monster, Queen. I only feel a frozen hand that perhaps has not felt anyone's warmth for a long time. Why are your cheeks so wet? Are you crying?" Medusa jolted back. She had never felt anyone's tender touch. For those snakes' eyes, not tears, but a hard bluish liquid began to flow. For the first time, she felt hatred for her own power. Medusa said, "Go away, boy. Run from here. Your purity cannot endure my darkness. Those who have not recognized me are better off." The boy, tapping his stick, said as he vanished into the mist, "Queen, I do not know you, but I can feel your sadness. Even if flowers do not bloom in your garden, someone will surely hear the melody within you one day." After the boy left, Medusa stood alone. The snakes on her head now lay quietly with their heads on her shoulder. Medusa's darknet now began to wait for a hope. Meanwhile, King Polydectes, the ruler of the neighboring kingdom of Sarpathia, was a tyrannical ruler. He always had his eyes on Queen Medusa's throne. The strongest and most popular general of his kingdom was Perseus. Because he was very simple-hearted, the army and the common people respected him like a god. But King Polydectes had set his eyes on Perseus' mother Danae. The king knew that as long as Perseus was alive, he could not force Danny. So Polydectes made a cruel plan. He summoned Perseus to the royal court. Polydectes had imprisoned Perseus' mother. The king declared that if Perseus could not bring back Medusa's head, his mother would be kept as a slave forever. The king knew that going to Medusa meant death. He actually wanted Perseus to never return. Perseus was led to believe that Medusa was a bloodthirsty monster who found joy in turning innocent people into stone. To save his mother and free the kingdom from this monster, Perseus agreed to the dangerous mission. The ancient temple of Athena. Outside, the drums of war are beating. The sound of the soldier marching with torches in hand is heard. Inside the temple, only one lamp burns. Perseus was leaning against a pillar, testing the sharpness of his sword. Suddenly, the wind becomes still. Perseus felt someone standing behind him. He turned around clumsily. He saw a tall female figure. She was the goddess Athena. Perseus said, "Goddess, you have come. I needed your advice before tomorrow's battle." Athena said, "Not advice, Perseus. I have come to help you. Do you know that against Medusa's skirts, your bronze armor will not be of use?" Perseus said, "I know, but as a commander, I have no chance to back down. Either I will win or I will turn to stone and merge with the rocks of that coast." Athena held out a polished silver shield to Perseus and said, "Take this. It is no ordinary metal. Instead of looking directly into Medusa's eye, look at her through the reflection in this shield. This is your only protection." Perseus took the shield and, surprised by its clarity, and said, "Thank you, goddess. This will turn the tide of my war." Athena said, "Just remember one thing. Courage does not just mean striking. Courage means having the power to recognize the truth. This shield will show you the truth that others can't see. The rest is up to your sword." Perseus said, "I will remember. I will not disappoint you." Athena smiled slightly and vanished into the darkness. Perseus gripped the shield tightly and walked out of the temple towards his army. Thousands of torches are burning at the seaport of Sarpathia. General Perseus stands before his massive army. He is wearing heavy bronze armor that glitters in the moonlight. Perseus knows that looking into Medusa's eyes means inevitable death. So he gave strict orders to his soldiers. No one will look directly at the mountain. Everyone will only focus on the reflection in their own shield. We will move in a phalanx formation where the shields will be joined together to create a wall of mirrors. The deserted coast of Greece. The surroundings are heavy with the sound of mist and salty wind. On other side, Perseus' disciplined army, Medusa's invisible army of snakes hiding behind stone statues. Perseus, sitting on his horse and raising his sword, shouted, "Raise the mirror wall!" At his command, the fawn-lined chandelier joins their shield together. The moonlight reflected off those thousands of silver shields and, piercing through the mist, raced directly towards Medusa's palace. Medusa sits in the darkness of the palace. At her every gesture, the surrounding thorn brushes began to move like snakes. She raised her staff and screamed. In an instant, black smoke and poisonous mix descended from the sky, trying to cover the light of Perseus' army. Everything around is dark with mist and smoke. Perseus' soldiers are retreating under the attack of Medusa's stone warriors. Perseus got off his horse and began to move forward on foot. He said to the soldier, "Do not look directly, only see the reflection in the shield." The soldiers saw in the mirror of their shields that the stone statues had suddenly started moving. They were not actually statues. They were stone monsters brought to life by the magic of Medusa's advisor. Perseus realized that this stone monster could not be defeated by direct combat. He signaled his soldiers to bring forward a special artillery unit. Instead of stone, Greek fire and wheels fitted with massive mirror were launched from those machines. Due to the heat of the fire and the intense light reflected from the mirrors, the magical mist created by the Medusas began to clear. Perseus used his sword to cut the leg bindings of Medusa's largest stone monster, causing it to collapse. In the first half, Medusa's army was scattered by this brilliant attack from Perseus. From the palace balcony, Medusa watched this scene in surprise. In hundreds of years, no one had been able to overwhelm her army like this. Seeing the courage and intelligence of this common man, she could not restrain her curiosity. Instead of taking a monstrous form, she descended the dark slope of the battlefield in the guise of a mysterious woman. She wanted to see who this general really was. The battlefield was hot then. Suddenly, a massive piece of rock began to collapse onto Perseus from the top of a broken mountain. Perseus was fighting other enemies. He didn't even notice that death was rushing down from above. At that exact moment, Medusa used her magical power. As she raised her hand, that massive rock froze in mid-air and was flung to one side. Returning from the blink of death, Perseus turned around quickly. He thought perhaps goddess Athena had saved him, but looking forward he was stunned. Not a terrifying monster, but an extraordinary beautiful woman was emerging from behind the mist. Although she had a crown of snakes on her head, in Perseus' eyes, it looked like a royal ornament. Athena's silver shield was then lying beside Perseus. Looking directly into Medusa's eyes, Perseus did not turn into stone, because at that moment there was no hatred in Medusa's eyes, only wonder. Perseus looked at her and chanted. The hand holding the sword became slack. He felt that this was the woman for whom he could fight 1,000 words. The scream and wails of war seems to vanish in an instant. The surroundings suddenly become peaceful. Perseus and Medusa are looking into each other's eyes.